Okay, it's time for today's CSS Battle. It's a bit late today, but that's because I've been watching the Fishojo drama go on all morning, so let's see what we've got. This looks like a bit of a pain in the posterior to do. Let's see what we can do, shall we? Okay, let's do this as a load of elements. So let's start with the body. Start with that and set its background to this. Set its height to, let's grab the very top of that, maybe 69 to 230. 70 to 230 would be 80. Let's try 180. And then let's shift it into place with some margins. Let's go 60 and 120. Is too high, maybe 160, and then shift it down by 10. Does that look like that? That looks very close there. 58. Okay, we'll leave that like that and just make it narrower. 42. Okay. So that should be all of that green bit done. Let's grab a second paragraph. And then from the bottom we want 0 and we don't want anything there. Then we'll do P plus P. We'll make this the light green to start off with. We will change that in a bit, but for now we will go with the light green. Now where is that showing up? It's not, so we'll do a margin of -72. Oh, that's not the light green. Let's change that to the light green. We need to go higher than that. So 158. Let's try 170, 180. Let's check the diff. We basically want this to be at the top of the eyes. 188, 186, 185, 185. That looks about right. We want its height to be 40 maybe. Nah, 50. And border radius to be 50%. We also want to specify a width of 50. Okay, where are we? Okay, 30, 40, 5, 42. 42 looks right for that. That looks about in the right place. Now let's change this background to a linear gradient of light green for 34%, grey to 67%, and light green for the rest. Let's put a colour stop in here. Okay, how far off is that? That looks fairly damn good. Now then, we then need that little radial gradient. So we'll do a radial gradient with its middle at the top, so 50% 0. We also want it to be a circle, so we'll do 1Q. We'll make it black, maybe a 10 pixel radius, and then transparent for the rest. Put the comma in there. Okay, that looks like it will be about the right size. We need to move it down, so let's do no movement that way and minus 18 pixels. 17. Whoop. 16 pixels looks quite close. Let's try 17 though, because I think that'll be even closer. It looks the wrong size. If we make that 11 pixels, no, that's definitely wrong. How about not 9 pixels? Nope. 9.5. Let's leave it at how about 10.5? 10.25. Let's leave it at 10 for now. We'll see how close we can get. So anyway, that's the first eye. Let's put in a second eye. Let's also label these with E. I'll actually make that an E. Let's do an E plus E. Temporarily give that a red background. God knows where it is. Still God knows where that is. Margin of 0 to that, just in case. That helps. So minus 50. Yeah. And then let's go 1/4, 192. 192 is looking good. Get rid of that background. There we go. That's both of our eyes in place. So now we've just got to get the legs in. Now we can possibly do that as a border of a box. So 200 to 240, so 40 high. Let's make that the legs. And we'll go height 40, width it's going to be 120 to 280, so 160. And then we're going to need to move it down a bit, so let's move down 7, 90, 120, 140, 150, 160. How far off is 160? 160 is too far. 155 looks about right. And then shift it. 120 left. No. 110. 112. 112. And the box sizing. Border box. And border 10 pixels solid, not that green, that green, and then shift it, make it 12 pixels, 13 pixels, 14 pixels, 14 pixels. Let's have a look, see what that looks like. Yeah, it's not quite what we want. Let's set its background as transparent. And let's set border bottom to 0. Now then, how far out is that? Other than it being on top, that looks fairly damn close. So let's set a Z index of -1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's not going to help. Let's set this Z index to 2. Also doesn't help. Okay. How else could we do this? Well, let's try this a slightly different way. By, instead of using the border, we'll do a background of a conic gradient. And then make this from 90 degrees white, no not white, grey, 25%, and then transparent, no not transparent, light green. Okay, and then 14, 14. Might need to do that the other way around. Let's get rid of that. Put space there, do that. And then make it 160 minus 14 is 146. That gets us that, which wouldn't be bad if it was actually behind it. So what we then do is we're just going to linear gradient a solid color and shift it in by whatever this distance is, 118, 150, 22. Let's take out the repeat, put a comma there. Right, 22 is not far enough, 32 is too far. Let's try 30, 30 looks good. And then make it 130 pixels wide. About 110 pixels, no, 100. And also only make it 30 pixels high. That looks fairly damn close to me. Let's see what we get. .9, and it's all in those eyes, I can bet you. How are we going to do anything about those is the question. What happens if we make that 10Q? How about 11Q? And shift it over by a percent? No. Shift it back by a percent? No. Make that 10. 10.5Q is fairly damn close. Come on. Alright, we have a... It's so small. Let's do filter blur 1 pixel just to... Okay, that's far too much. How about 0.1Q? Let's see what happens now. Don't think it's going to be good either. We are stuck. It's only those eyes. And it might... I wonder if the initial box needs to be one further down. Maybe 2 further down. Ooh. Let's give that a go. Okay, the whole lot down. That's okay. Now we're missing its very top bits. 156, 155. Then let's move it back up a bit. I think we might actually need to move it further up than that. Maybe further up than that. Right, let's just take a quick look at where we are. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. 58, 162. Right, 168, but yeah, now we've got artifacts at the top. We could do this background as a linear gradient of 1, 2, 4, 10 pixels, and then that. Okay, that looks quite close. Let's have a look at the diff of that. I think it's still going to be a 99.9, but let's give it a go. Yeah, we're still at a 99.9. Let's put that back to 10 pixels. Does it get better with either direction? Not really. How about if we do -1 pixel there? Oh, no, not there. Try 50%, -1 pixel. Move it down to 17. That's very, very close. Let's go 23 pixels in. 22, 21, no, 25, 24 and a half. 25 is so cool. And if we change that to a Q, 26Q, 27Q, 26 and a half Q. This is just unforgiving. Let's try it like that. What if we make the blur slightly bigger? Ooh. it's not really making any difference. What happens if we make the border radius exactly 25 pixels? Doesn't help much either. 10 pixels. Okay, I'm going to leave that on 99% for now. And I'm going to think about how else I could possibly do it. So that's the end of this video for now. Goodbye.